What's happening, everybody? I thought now was as good a time as any to kind of recap the new event that came out as part of the Gunslinger DLC. There's definitely some confusion amongst at least some of the folks in my guild, but other folks about exactly what's going on between the dailies, the weeklies, the invasion event that takes place 3 days a week. So, what I thought I would do is I cover it really fast, kind of show you in game where you need to go, how this whole thing starts, what to look out for, and kind of we'll go from there. So we'll jump into the game on my side, and we'll talk about where this thing starts, and we'll go from there. So we jump into the actual game. So I'm in Eternal Haven right now, right, which is part of the new zone in Nipnaya Ridge, next to the Gorge. So how do you get here, right? So if you go to the Crimson Watch camp in the Gorge, there is a quest there, a breadcrumb that gets you into the new zone, and there's a whole set of story quests to do here as well. You can do these without having done the previous story quests. So if you're stuck on some of those quests in the garden, there are some tough solo bosses you have to beat, like Antolon. So you don't have to. It's not like a block, so to speak. So you can jump right into the story quests inside of the new zone. So once you're here, what is there to do? So there are 4 main teleport points in here, starting at Haven. And then there's the War Memorial, Cragtier Scar, and the Maw. So each one of those has quests. There is a weekly quest at the Memorial and at the Scar to kill 150 critters each. One is for animals, one's for abyssals. There's one daily, which is at the Maw, which is to crack eggs. Something to note there is the daily there is actually uses a shared object as the invasion event that takes place 3 days a week. So to clarify, the invasion, which is something that takes place in the zone, basically takes place on the off content days. So if you think of content being Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, Wednesday's the siege, what days does that leave you? Monday, Friday, Saturday. So at 10:30 Eastern, that's when the siege takes place. And we'll get to there in a second. So as I said, there's the weekly quests, there's the daily quest in the zone. And then the other big attraction, other than the story, is what I was mentioning before. That's the invasion. So what is the invasion? It's what's supposed to be a 40-minute event, and I live streamed it before, but my air conditioner is being super noisy. I'm going to live stream it again. It's supposed to be a 40-minute event, which is actually only 30 minutes of content, because for whatever reason you sit around. And basically, portals or rifts open all over this zone. So if you're actually familiar, or remember if you ever played the game Rift, where those rifts would open up and mobs would come out, very similar to that. You have to close these rifts, and basically this is a pure PvE event. So the 3 factions, Pirate, East, West, basically need to work together to close these rifts and achieve a score. If we don't achieve that score, and say the computer or the enemies, right, were to achieve that score, it would make all the world bosses harder, right? So it's basically first to 15,000. Now I haven't seen any time where the computer is going to get close to that, but I imagine on, say, one of the fresh start servers, or the fresh start server, I should say, I could see that happening, because the mobs do hit very, very hard, like especially the generals and stuff. So other things to know. Once again, this is pure PvE, so loading up on your PvE gear, like your Nori equipment, etc., super helpful. Get there early. What I've seen, at least on Marmas, is the raids start forming up an hour before the event starts and then get full. So if you're not in the main raid, getting things like tags for quest completion can be a definite challenge. As I said, so there are a slew of quests that spawn as part of this event, but you can't get them before the event actually starts. So what happens is, if you're in the zone, you'll see there's some flavor text about eyes spying on the zone, etc. So what will happen is when it gets close to the time, when it's about to start, you'll click into a movie, and it's almost like zoning. So this is a place where if you're gonna get disconnected, it happens quite a bit. It happened to me quite a bit, and you miss out on the first part of the event. Very frustrating. So it basically will load the movie, you can escape out of it, and you get like a double load screen. Then you can actually start partaking in the event. What you need to do though is get the quests. Now there's a quest giver at all the main points like I talked about before, but there's always a horde of people, so just getting to the mob is like the metagame by itself. I should say not the mob, the quest giver. So once you have the quests, you know, that first, if you break that 40 minutes down, the first 10 minutes is basically waiting for stuff to happen. And then there's a solo portion. Click on the eyeballs. There's also the big red ones and some other quests that take place there, but you only get individual credit. But you have to spend the time getting the quests to go do them. So what I've learned after I've gotten the quest the first time, where I didn't get any of them done because people were out there getting them, is, you know, once you have the quests, is like the next time the event happens, already be out where, you know, so you're out where they spawn, so you can and then worry about getting the rest of the quests after you click on those, because basically they're gone in the first 5 minutes. Really frustrating, not really well thought out. It should be an area affecting. Whoever's around, like the eye, when it's clicked on, should get the credit for it, but, or even in the raid, but for whatever reason, it's a very individual activity. The big thing to know about what happens in this is one of the ways you get score is for every time anybody completes a quest. When I say anybody in the raids, right? You complete any of those quests, it's worth 3 points. So there's a couple quests, like I've alluded to before, like the daily quest matches to one of the quests you get from the invasion, which is to break the eggs over by the maw. So you want to do that during that quiet time, as well as you need to go stand in an area in the Haven, which I'll point to right here. Down in the workshop, the Abyssal Workshop, that's also one of the quests. Just to go in there is completes one of the other daily quests as part of the invasion. So you do that, it increments the score. So, you know, before the event really even starts, you can, the good guys can have over 1,000 points, which going toward 15,000, it can be really important. Usually what I've seen the last few times we've completed this successfully, there's about 3 minutes to spare, so the extra score definitely does help. Usually you split up the zone into three different areas, so the different factions. So what we've seen is the west has the south, the pirates have the island, and the east has the north. But the problem is right here in the middle in the hill is where the generals spawn. So there tends to be sometimes some contention to make sure everybody gets the general kill for the quest. Thankfully it's worked out okay. But I think, as I alluded to on the stream I posted, this event is kind of just fundamentally strange to me in a game where it's kind of built to be competitive amongst the factions with PvP, etc. You're expecting them all suddenly to work together. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It is what it is, but it just doesn't make a lot of sense from a I would think it'd be more of a competition between the faction, maybe who was able to to defeat the most enemies or something like that would be a little bit more interesting, rather than being a group kumbaya collective type of situation. So anyway, mobs will be spawning throughout this event. You have basically that 20-minute period to defeat them. You defeat them. What does this do, right? So as I said, if you defeat them, you complete another quest. It gives you some rewards, some extra tokens, like I talked about, as well as an upgrade item. As well as it spawns in the Cragtier Scar, it spawns the Victory Vendor, which has random drops of items. So if we look here real quick, look at the Token Merchant. This is what's really important. So everything else on here, I would say, completely ignore. This is garbage. Ignore it. So these three items are super important. What you'll notice here, what you'll see is they're sold out. So once per reset, you can buy each one of them. Why that Victory Vendor is important is because he has the chance of having one of these items on him. So it gives you a chance to, get ahead when it comes to experience. So each one of these is worth 100 experience in their respective slots. So weapon, armor, accessory. Now you can use them for the other slots, but they're only worth 45 experience. And there's probably a strategy. There's definitely a strategy to how you upgrade. I was a little bit more kind of across the board. So I ended up upgrading all my armor to at least level 2. Now I'm actually currently looking on my breastplate and my primary and secondary weapon slots. So why is this important? Other than when you upgrade like your weapon, you get a little bit more DPS. When you upgrade your armor, you get some extra defense and also increase your gear score. But the idea here is you get these set effects as you upgrade your gear, right? So as you get to 12, 28, and 12 respectively when it comes to weapon, armor, and accessory, you'll actually gain the first rank. So it's very similar to equipment set effect, right? And then so on and so forth, this will change as well. Physical defense, magic defense, toughness, and resilience. Now that's just the set effects. As you level these pieces up, you'll get other effects. As an example, the accessories, which require more per level. For example, to get to level 2 for a piece of armor, it's only 200 experience. To get to level 2 for an accessory, it's 900. But you gain the effects much faster in an accessory. So as soon as you level an accessory, as you can see on the screen, to level 2, you get plus 20 to a stat. Right? And then as you continue to level up, other effects get unlocked. I.e., as you get to level 3, you can unlock an attack or a healing option, crit rate, etc. Right? And it's different for each set. So that's, for example, that would be the next slot. If you look at the weapon slot, everything is plus 20, but the available effects are, when it comes to a weapon, things like cast speed, attack speed, etc. So that's great, right? You have another way to improve your character. There's some downside here. What you unlock is completely random, and you get to use everybody's favorite thing, serendipity stones. So that's kind of a problem, because there's never enough serendipity stones. I mean, I don't know how many times I've had to pray to Range Jesus to try to re-roll spirit on something for stamina, and I fail like 10 times in a row. So I've been asked, do I have thoughts on an upgrade strategy? So I guess if I had to really think about it, is if you're a DPS, you want to upgrade your weapon, be it your primary slot or your bow gun, now that Gunslinger is in. If you're a healer or a tank, it's not quite as straightforward. I decided to upgrade my shield and my chest plate as a tank. As a healer, you might want to think about something similar. It really depends where you're getting some of your bonuses when it comes to the stats you're gaining, as well as if you look forward to what you gain as you level up the item, things like cast speed. If you need more cast speed, that might be interesting to you as to upgrade first. But I'd recommend looking at the different slots about what opens up after you get past like the plus 20 stat, right? Is it, additional resilience, toughness, things like attack speed, cast time, I should say, etc. Right? That's where it basically depends on your build, is how I would prioritize those things. So I mentioned before, you get, there's all these quests, and you get these tokens. The amount of tokens you get when you open the item, as you get a reward for example, as the daily, you get 3, token chests, I'll call them, right? With at ancestral level 38, I get 15 tokens in each one of those. Each of the items that you buy costs 70. So as you can imagine, the daily is not enough to buy one of those items. So you really kind of have to do and the invasion. The weekly gives you 10 chests. So in this case, 10 times 15. That's how many you get there. When you get done with the actual invasion, I seem to end up anywhere between 25 and 30 plus, depending on how many of those solo type quests I'm able to finish. Because they are, they do increase. So like the scrying eyes, for example, it's, you do 3, then you automatically get, scrying eyes 2, which is do another 5, and then 3, which I think is 10. A couple more like that. Then they reset back to 1. You have to get the quest again. So basically, depending on where you are, is how many of those items you'll get. The awakening items to go up to level 5 is 150 tokens, and then it just goes up from there, and that's where it'll start getting a little bit more expensive. So really the strategy comes down to how do you want to allocate your experience, across multiple items, and you have to awaken them all, or do you focus on very specific items and get them to a higher level quicker than everything else. So in summary, what do I say? Attending the invasions is a really good idea, but it's unrealistic. Getting the weeklies done, super important. What I will say is the Abyssal weekly, if you attend the invasions, you usually will finish that as a matter of course based on kind of the areas you run through. Not so much the animals one. That one I actually had to go farm and do. But my perspective, at least if I'm in a DPS spec, like a mage DPS spec, I thought the mobs in the ridge here are easier in the garden, as an example, when it comes to farming things there. I think it's a mixture of strengths and weaknesses of the mobs. They're, at least for me, they're weaker lasting, so that was super useful as a caster. So I think that really sums up from a high level what's going on here, and how this event takes place. I'm going to stream this again with a lot less noise sometime this week. Hopefully that'll kind of combine with this, give a better view of what's going on. And I'll probably do an update here as I level myself up and get to the next level, and what that looks like when as we unlock the next set items. It just hasn't been physically enough time yet since this expansion dropped to get there. I mean, and obviously I have missed a couple of the invasions because I like actually doing it, not sitting in front of my computer. So hopefully everybody's out there enjoying spring. I do appreciate everybody listening, watching, and hopefully you're getting some interesting information out of this. Look forward to seeing a lot of you online now that there's only 2 servers. I am running into some folks that have watched some of these videos. So get out there, hopefully have some fun, and I'll see you guys online. Have a good night.